to thank Armstrong County for hosting us here. Hi. Hi. Welcome. I want to thank Armstrong County for hosting us here today, and hope that in the future we'll get into our new offices. But in the meantime, we're glad to be here. It's a beautiful location, beautiful time to be in this park with everything in bloom. And I actually think I took a tour the whole way down over the hill on the backside just because I wanted to make sure I knew what was here. So Pat, you have some words of welcome you'd like to give today.
Oh, sure, Leslie. I saw a few folks here at 2 o'clock, a few folks at 3 o'clock, more folks here at 4 o'clock. Just some housekeeping items. The bathrooms as you came in are out there in the main lobby, men and women's. Please help yourself to any of the food that's out there on the table at any time during the presentations or business meeting. But yeah, this is our industrial park. I see Commissioner Myers here. Where's that? Chairman of our Armstrong County Board of Commissioners is back there. I think one thing that Commissioner Myers and myself are most excited about with this park is our recent partnership with RIDC. You know, one thing we all talked about is when people step off of airplanes, they're not necessarily maybe calling our team per se right away, but when you look at one of the biggest developers in Southwest Pennsylvania and their portfolio, they're more than likely getting a phone call. So it made sense to partner with them. The proof's in the pudding. We got 90 homes, groundbreaking out in front as you go out into the parking lot today. We're going to see some residential development out there later this year. We just did a 2 flex buildings. We're designing now 30,000 square foot each perspective, but you know, we don't build things unless we think somebody's going to go in them. So we're pretty confident on those 2 projects getting done within the next 12 months as well. So a lot of great stuff happening here in this park that we're excited about. And thank you for visiting. And I'll turn it back over to you.
Glad to be here. And considering the fact that I also have a role in the RIDC board and also just got off the phone on my way in here, interestingly enough, with the developer that's doing your 90 homes out here. So clearly that the tech industry is moving up this corridor, and we look forward to seeing what comes for all of you here in Armstrong County. As we call the meeting to order, I believe we have a quorum. Is that so? Yes, thank you. And are there any conflict of interest declarations on action items? Okay. I also, well, we'll move on. Is there public comment? Okay. All right, then let's ask for approval of the minutes of the February 27th, 2023 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Anything further? Okay. How about I do this, since we have so many people online? If anyone is opposed, please say aye. Okay, hearing no opposition, the minutes will stand approved. With that, are you also introducing the presenters?
No, go ahead, your chairman.
All right, so we have presentation from Armstrong County on the Makerspace Plan, and we're welcoming Christina Corin, who's the Director of Strategic Partnership from IUP. And welcome, and you can introduce your team here, and we're glad to have you.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Fabian. We're just very grateful for this opportunity to share some important information. My name is Christina Corin. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at IUP. Today we're going to be showcasing 2 special projects that we think will certainly bring some renewed energy to areas across Western PA. We know that IUP has some key resources, and how we collaborate with others like yourselves, different entities within communities and counties across Western PA is going to be important. We have to start thinking strategically and working together on sharing those resources to make a difference in workforce and economic development. So today I'm joined by 2 colleagues, and Dr. Rick Adkins from IUP and Dr. Justin Fair. Dr. Rick Adkins is going to kick it off with explaining our work connected to the Makerspace work surrounding the EDA Build Back Better Regional Challenge efforts.
Thank you for having us here. Really delighted to be here. And so this slide has a lot of content packed into it, right? So the point is not really for you to read the slide, but maybe keep you entertained between what I'm talking about. So we have a set of resources for engaging students on IUP's campus in doing design thinking, doing rapid prototyping, and we are trying to, through the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, push that forward to extend our resources on campus, to have more things that we're doing, but also to include people in the community, regional businesses, and improve their training on a variety of things. So in our existing IUP STEAM Shop space, we have connections for students to be able to use the small business development consultations that they can get through IUP faculty as well as through the SBDC. And so we are leveraging those kinds of things to build out under the Build Back Better, to provide those services to regional businesses. And so we have partnered under the Build Back Better with an agency in Cambria County called MAID, right? So they are retooling a space in downtown Johnstown that previously had resources for people who were trying to do makerspace kinds of things. So they have everything from woodworking to ceramics to digital electronics in their spaces, and we are trying to incorporate some robotics and some artificial intelligence training for people in Cambria County. Specifically for the new resources, right? So over here, if you could read the small print, right? And so in Armstrong, we're looking to open up a space right across the hallway here and be able to do what we're calling physical computing. So on that physical computing side, we're looking to provide training resources as well as hardware and digital equipment to do the idea of including sensors in design of equipment, right? So those sensors can be everything from proximity to heat to chemicals, right? So but pulling sensors into that equipment design allows you to then feed that data into computing systems. So so you have things that, you've probably seen some examples of, robotic vacuum cleaners that bump into walls, right? So they have sensors for that proximity. You can make ones that don't bump into the walls by just measuring the distances to the walls. So so we're trying to do things that would allow training for students, right? So some of the programs build a pipeline of people into career pathways for that. Hopefully we get them into IUP and into degree programs. But the point is to try to attract students to see themselves as being able to do some of that career direction for digital circuitry, for working with sensors, working with robotics. And so that's the focus for the location in Armstrong County. In Indiana, we're adding another about 2,500 square feet of space where we're going to put, we have a 5-axis milling machine coming, we have some collaborative robots, and we have a variety of other additional equipment that we're looking to build out that will add more capacity to the space that we already have with laser cutters, 3D printers, different kinds of 3D printers. So that that sort of digital design component followed by digital fabrication, both to build prototypes as well as to build pathways to doing commercial products, right? So continued manufacturing, adding robotics to that. We're hoping to participate under that larger Build Back Better regional challenge group to expand access to and sort of de-risk that robotics piece for both startup companies, existing businesses, and we're really excited about the opportunity to plan with them. And we sort of stay with that core focus on building educational pathways towards careers, as IUP does as an educational institution, but really reaching out to pull people who are maybe existing workforce, companies that have needs to change what they're doing in their companies, to come to us for some training and be able to experience that technology. Justin, take that.
Thank you. Yeah, next slide. All right, so I'm Dr. Fair, Justin, and really, so what I want to talk to you about is two programs that we've recently written National Science Foundation grants for. The first grant is a STEM grant program. Mainly, it's about a collaborative planning project. And so what we envision is, how do we look for connecting graduates to careers within the region? Really the two aims are, one, keeping graduates within the region, but also bridging the occupational skills gap between the labor supply and the job demand. And so to do this, there were a couple goals of the grant, and one is to build out existing interinstitutional networks. So right now we have some school districts on board. We have vocational schools, community colleges, universities, and then like AIR and IU, the intermediate units. And so you can see what we're looking for is not just IUP, we're not just looking at the school districts, we're looking at a region-wide network of institutions. And the main goal there is we all have our own programming strengths. So the vocational schools have great hands-on, IUP has hands-on, has research, and of course is a great university. The community college is obviously focused on associate degrees. So you can see that depending upon what jobs industry needs within our region, we want to supply them with graduates from each of the individual tracks. We also want to build a regional corporate consortium. And so really what the regional corporate consortium is to, number one, identify the necessary knowledge, skills, abilities, and certificates that our regional employers demand from their new hires. And we want to be able to provide job shadowing, paid internships, and job placement of these regional high priority occupations. Once we are able to build out those two things, one, the institutional network and the corporate consortium, we want to then actually embed whatever the knowledge, skills, abilities, and certificates that the employers need. Make sure that they're mapped back onto the educational programs. Make sure that there's not a disconnect, right? So that's the main goal there. But also, we want to strengthen our dual enrollment and streamline our credit for prior learning. So right now, we have students that are taking college and high school, but not necessarily all of those credits are transferring to the community colleges or to the universities. So we want to create pathways to show students this is what career you want, these are the educational programs that match up to those pathways, these are the internships, these job shadowing possibilities that you can do while you're in those educational programs, and these are the certificates that you can do. But while they're in high school, they can start working towards their college degree, making sure that those credits transfer to the programs that they're actually intending to go to, so they're not wasting any time. The grant obviously is the STEM program, so it's all about scholarships. So the scholarship will provide about $15,000 per student per year in one degree, but they can also go on to masters or PhDs if needed. The other grant that we looked at and we applied to was the National Science Foundation Strengthening American Infrastructure. So the first slide really shows you that, hey, yeah, we're going to create these partnerships, we're going to map these career and educational programs, but then what do you have? Just a bunch of Excel spreadsheets? Okay, that's great. What about true informational sharing? So what we envision actually is building the Pathways and Sustainable Careers educational system. Get it PI, because I'm a scientist, right? PI C's. That will be lowercase on it. Okay. Okay, so, but anyway, what this is going to do is actually provide career education, training, and pathways to students. And we're actually going to not just do the sciences, but we're going to focus on all 16 career clusters. And we're going to start actually in the 3rd grade, because that's actually where PDE, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, starts their benchmark reporting. So why do I want to focus on the middle schools? Is because actually in the middle schools is where students start hitting some of the science, right? But they start saying like, yeah, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to deal with robotics. But when we start embedding what kind of cool careers we have within our region, we start showing them before middle school and into middle school, they can actually say, yeah, this is hard, but I can see where I want to go and I can see the job that I want. Of course, we're going to integrate this with Department of Education's benchmark reporting. Right now, our school districts pay somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000 to do this reporting using some systems. So our system is going to be more cost effective and actually instructionally more flexible for the guidance counselors and the teachers in those school systems. It'll provide the students with a tailored career and educational pathway from 3rd grade to graduation, meaning either high school, vo-tech, community college, or university. And of course, it's going to be specifically built for what our workforce needs are. So this is a regional product. This is a regional product built for us. The students can generate career portfolios and they can search for the job shadowing and internships and job placements within the area. but also if the students are allow it to, they can actually click a box and say, I want companies to search for me. Right, so this means that our members of the corporate consortium will then be able to actually go search for interns and job hires using this one platform. So you can think of this as an educational training platform, but also like a job Indeed's platform, all built in just for our region.
So we're really excited about being able to connect with all of you, right? So part of this really is networking. We're trying to build pipelines of students from elementary all the way through high school into college, into career training positions, and being able to let you guys know about this and be able to connect the things that we're planning for people. This really is a workforce development across both areas. So Justin really getting that pipeline of students coming through. I'm trying to grab students in the middle school, high school area as well, and also serve people who are currently working in careers and retraining in somewhat. So we'd love to have any questions you guys might have, as well as in the future, if you hear needs for pulling all these curricular pieces together with actual hands-on things, connect back to us.
And just, one mention at the end here is that we couldn't have had this opportunity to even, seek support through this Build Back Better Regional Challenge opportunity if we didn't have good teammates like Byron from Indiana County, the Indiana County's commissioners, as well as Armstrong County commissioners, and Darren and Rich Muth, our director of regional campuses. So they're here today. Darren, would you like to add anything, or Byron, as we collaborated on the actual application and request itself? Is there one key takeaway you would like this audience today to know what IUP is ready to do with you guys and other counties?
Oh, I would just like to thank IUP. They really took the lead on this and allowed the county to be part of this. Chris has been great to work with, coming up with ideas for this space and making the connections, so we're really appreciative of everything you guys have done, and we can't wait till we get this rocking.
We are looking forward to starting things here. So
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
right across the hallway.
Yeah. There is an opportunity for some of you that have kids of your own or just connections in your school districts. We have a summer learning opportunity that's connected to the efforts of the EDA work. And Dr. Adkins can just give a little teaser about that if you'd like, and we follow up with some more information over email.
It's on IUP's campus. We're looking to do some summer programming in this facility next year, but we're looking to have students come in and be able to do some creative design of a mobile robot that has some sensors that it will be able to interact with its environment. Those students will also get to training in flying drones and how drone technology works. And we're also giving them experience under the Build Back Better funded us with some ergonomic equipment for basically exoskeletons to both create sensors that collect information about people's physical load, as well as those pieces of equipment, sort of the Terminator kind of thing, that you double your strength, and let the students try that out and see themselves as how they could perhaps find a job that would be connected to that cool technology, right? So expose them to the ideas and get them to lock on at a young age to do that. So we have 20 students coming into IUP this summer. We still have spots left on our sign-up list. So.
All right, Byron, would you like to add anything from Indiana?
No, I think this is really going to be, going to be fun to see how this all shapes up, and being able to take the technology and deploy it in rural parts of the region. And I think banding together with the 3 counties with this entrepreneurial makerspace, really going to be a not necessarily a pilot, but to see what the outcomes are. And so I think we have a lot to look forward to, and really appreciate the IUP's leadership in this. And again, I think all 3 counties partnering together is really going to be a lot of fun to watch and benefit our rural school districts, and really the workforce component of this. As we talked earlier about the Homer City Power Plant and some of the other transitions in our natural resource economies, these kinds of new opportunities are really going to be critical to our collective regional future. So really looking forward to the continued partnership.
So thank you. So I can't stress enough, if you have ideas, let it marinate. We did throw some good information at you today. It is a Monday afternoon. But as the week goes on, if you start thinking about, hey, rural areas, rural makerspace, and what was presented here by IUP, if you had some thoughts of your own about school districts and or companies that are interested in moving here or already established that need some help, please connect them with us. We would want to get started. We're already in discussions across a number of counties, but we really look to you guys because you have the pulse on who's interested in setting up shop here, who's interested in working with some of our greatest concentrated populations in our K through 12 areas and other post-secondary opportunities. So we can't emphasize that enough. Are there any questions from the crowd?
I'm just curious as to how you're going to roll this out to companies that don't know you exist yet. How will that be done? And then also, how are you going to capture the youth in those age ranges when you do? It's very difficult to get into schools anyways, but what's your capture technique?
Yeah, so what I found really integral here is one of our key partners is the intermediate units. So one of the first things we're going to be doing this summer and into the fall is working to see a needs assessment from them. So some school districts are heavily involved into making their curriculum a pathways approach already. Here's your career clusters, what are you taking in those last couple of years of high school? Some school districts are not quite that far, all right? So we want to then help them create those career clusters to identify that. But then when it comes into actually doing some of the career training, they all do it differently. So is there kind of, one size fits all approach doesn't happen, right? So what is the best way to insert ourselves and help facilitate that? And that's where kind of Pisces comes in, building that educational infrastructure. But through the intermediate units, that's kind of the guiding light into the school districts. We do already have some great networking with the vocational, the community colleges. That's a little bit easier for us to do. But right now, probably one of the biggest lifts, I believe, for us is going to be finding the corporate partners to build that corporate consortium, right? That's going to be it. And then if we can identify the high priority occupations from them, what types of jobs are they having a hard time finding? That's kind of be our first niche to really break down and to investigate, to make sure we can map that back onto our educational programs, and then get those internships. The job shadowing is the key,
So I'm
right?
not trying to, I understand what you're trying to do, but my question is how? Like, how can I, as a commissioner, bring stuff to you? How do I get them connected? If we have 50 companies in our region, how do we get them connected into a space that they understand what you're trying to do?
Right, so first, I mean, honestly, it'd be great to have a list of the companies, right? Just a list, and then I can reach out to them, create meetings at IUP to bring them in, and then we can basically.
Same thing here. So in terms of, we're in the process of putting together marketing materials per se, that these are the pieces of equipment that we have, these are the training workshops we're doing. We'll have that on the website, be able to send that out by email. So if I can get a list of companies and the contacts in there that maybe are, not necessarily the team leader, maybe it might be human resources, some place to get into. These are places where we have, our new 5-axis mill. We're going to run some training sessions on that, digital design, the physical computing sensors, right? So we'll have actual hands-on kinds of things where you can bring employees for a couple of hours and come out of that process with actual skills on equipment and be able to sort of envision how that might change what you do in your workforce setting, work with our collaborative robots, right? So we're looking for all of you to add to us that ability. I mean, we've got some data sources already that have lists of those companies that we're going to reach out to. We got to get our marketing materials put together. So for me, reaching out to the high schools in terms of getting into the high schools is tough, but there's a lot of IUP alumni. I've taught at IUP for 26 years, right? So I know a lot of the students who were students and now professionals working in the schools, right? So we have a pretty good network of being able to just reach out and say, here's some services that we're providing directly to the science teachers, to the tech teachers, to the guidance counselors. And we have different faculty who've gone through, have their kids go through different regional high schools, and so we're hoping that we can get this done.
And to piggyback on that, so you're looking for like demonstrated action. So here's 2 examples. One, Commissioner Fabian and Darren. Hey, we have this opportunity where we're hosting the Southwest Business Commission. Can you talk about your project? That's one. We jumped on that opportunity right away to even talk to you guys in the broad scale about what it is we're doing. 2, another example, Byron. Hey, Chris, we have a county-wide manufacturing consortium. We meet monthly, 7:30 a.m., sure thing, we'll bring donuts. So now we've been an active part monthly, engaging in conversations, bringing not just these two professors, but other professors, because we have other programs that should have been or could have been, and for given a variety of reasons, given our nature of the bureaucratic public institution that we are, and a lot of the higher ed institutions face that, now we're an active part, an engaged part in that manufacturing consortium. So there are opportunities already where you have set committees or set groups or set events. And if you're like, this would be an event that maybe someone from IUP, Chris or others, could come, that's what we want to be let in. Because it's one, of course, giving us a directory of every business that you have already existing, that's great, but that's us, working together to divvy up that list and make some calls, and we're not shy, we can certainly do that. But those are, what I just presented to you is 2 illustrations of some demonstrated activity that's proven to be pretty beneficial, is getting out in public at already established forums like yourselves.
And we've done, individual companies just show up and see what they're doing, see what we have to offer, and we've been talking to them. So we've been doing this already. So,
So, quick question, this is under the National Science Foundation grant, correct?
Yeah, these two.
So how does that coordinate with the Build Back Better piece that SBC has?
So this is part of, I believe, Project 4, correct?
Yes.
Through Innovation Works, and
Yes.
so they have the individual hubs, so, and I'm gonna actually be.
Well, no, the hub, that is, but your second page is a workforce development piece.
Yes, those as a completely separate project to Build Back Better.
Ergo my point.
That's what I'm trying to get to
Yeah,
here.
one could argue, so
So-
we love a good argument in higher ed, they're complementary of each other.
Absolutely, so,
Yes.
and I'll take off my SPC
Go
hat
ahead.
and hit you with my consortium hat and 13 years of workforce. So the bottom line is the challenge is so significant that one solution is not gonna solve it. Build Back
Right.
Better is not gonna solve it. So
Right.
you need multiple things happening at the same
Right.
time. And again, not all of this is gonna be directly robotics related. So some of this is gonna be probably manufacturing, probably healthcare, probably IT, electronics, anything that's gonna fall into that. So, to me, you're gonna have companies that go into Build Back Better as well as this. You're gonna have people that probably could fit into either. And, bottom line is you have more jobs than people.
Oh,
So-
yeah, absolutely. And we're
knowing
trying
that-
to, I think that for those of us in the outer space,
Oh,
or for
we're
those
human.
who are in that outer space, to Kevin's point, what we're trying to figure out, and I sit on the New Economy Board, okay, and I'm trying to figure out how we're pulling this all together in all of these different avenues and making sure that when you have Company A, that we know clearly where we're gonna send them for help. And to that point, that is kind of what we're working on within our own county, is trying to get that coordination in place through work with Catalyst Connection and, and bring some manufacturers to the table to say, okay, talk to us about the needs so that we can understand how to build that path that you're talking about, that we're gonna connect to you or to whomever. But if we don't have that communication at the county level, down with our own group, it's gonna be difficult to get everybody pointed where they need to be pointed to get the resources that are necessary. So
We need
we're
easy
just-
access.
We're trying to,
Absolutely.
there's a lot out there happening
There is
right now.
tremendous.
So all we're trying to do is figure out how we're getting people appropriately pointed to the right
Sure thing.
resources when
Yeah.
and where.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering how it says high priority occupations for regional high priority occupations, is that, how's the region defined in the NSF
So how's the region defined
geographically?
geographically? I looked at basically the counties with IU6, IU7, and IU28 were the IU areas. So there were 62 different school districts there. Obviously with the NSF, you don't want to go way too big, even though that is big. So basically what I want to do is look at Altoona West, right? That's the part of the state that I want to look at. I have some collaborators on the eastern side of the state, or it's like, hey, we can develop on the west, they can develop on the east, right? And then we can kind of meet there, like the railroad, right? So, but yeah, so this is, and NSF's not gonna like the fact that I have all 16 career clusters, they only want the
Science one.
science, science mathematics, right? But in order to truly do Pisces, in order to truly do that, you're gonna go to a company, you're gonna say, what are your needs? And they're gonna say, okay, I need engineers, I need robotics, I need healthcare.
But I also need human resource people and people who can do writing and communicate.
And then when you embed it into the high schools, they're not gonna just be interested in science, they're gonna be interested in all the career paths. And so that's where this gets really broad, but then focusing it out and making those connections with those companies. Having those, not just career paths, but educational paths mapped on with the proper knowledge, skills, and abilities, you're gonna have an employee that's ready to go, ready to take a job.
It strikes me also that by just introducing these things, it gives young people, students and young professionals, a better idea of where they want to go. And not too many people start out in, their junior year of high school and end up there where they thought they were going.
I mean, anything that's new technology, it's like, okay, maybe you have a parent that works in robotics, but probably not, right? They probably have only seen them on TV, right? So getting to do something hands-on with that, whether it be robotics, exoskeletons, whether it be, even just any sort of technology, right? So getting their hands on that, I think, is really a place to start.
So I think to the commissioner's points about pointing in the right direction, even if the first place that a student or a company is pointing is it the right way, they might make those connections if we all keep talking to each other. We held our Project 3 Build Back Better team lead meeting, and it seems like that was what was missing. No one's talking to each other. So if we start talking to each other and then we start referring where the company needs to go or where the workforce development program needs to go as far as what fits their area, I think that's.
On that note, could I take a moment and introduce Ben Pratt? And Ben, would you introduce yourself and your new role and just, I don't mean to but it's perfect segue.
It all is connected.
Right at the moment, it's
Yeah.
all connected.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Pratt. I am returning to southwestern Pennsylvania after an 18-year hiatus around the country doing economic development, project management from Texas to northwest Pennsylvania to Colorado to Kentucky and now here. And so I experience these types of conversations and challenges all the time. I think it's interesting that, to your points earlier, we designated the Build Back Better region as an 11-county region simply because we misrecognized the MEP's 12-county region. It's really a 12-county region, but the NSF region is, to your point, designated based off of different criteria, different characteristics, and that's, to me, where I feel like these conversations get more confusing over and over again because of the high priority occupations of everything west of, it's not that, I mean, it's based off of SNF's criteria designations of how you have to declare a region, but frankly, it's a very similar, if not the exact same footprint or region as what we're talking about, the 12-county MEP region of Catalyst Connections designation of southwestern Pennsylvania. So the alignment that you're looking for is going to be very similar, if not exactly the same regional footprint as our 12 counties southwestern Pennsylvania region, served by the same employers, the same needs assessments. The information they would find in the NSF grant is going to be critical to informing the career alignment and autonomous mobile systems that we have in all of southwestern Pennsylvania, because those high priority occupations are going to be the most susceptible to automation or could lead to the greatest opportunity to automate because of the volume of demands in those high priorities. So depending on the skill level, certifications, et cetera, it's all connected. And so I think the greatest opportunity that we have, because we are a Build Back Better recipient, which is why I left Kentucky to come here, is because Pittsburgh is at the tip of the spear of what's going to be the national trend. There are going to be high priority occupations across the country in advanced manufacturing and healthcare and aviation, and automation is just one piece of the puzzle and evolving our workforce for the next generation, and the other piece of the puzzle is building out complementary training programs that at the same time we are learning to adopt this automation and autonomous mobile systems, we're creating the career pathways and curriculum so that people can learn how to use that technology all at the same time. So it's with partners like IUP, it's with partners, we have 18 consortium partners in our training program that, God bless Jen for all the work that she's been doing and trying to coordinate these types of conversations across 18 different training providers, because it is, and all with different specialties, industry subsegments, and that's just one of the 5 projects that we're working to coordinate here. But honestly, it may look more confusing, and it's definitely confusing for people who aren't living in our economic development and workforce space. But at the end of the day, if there is one thing that we can say, it is very confusing at the moment. It's gaining more clarity because Pittsburgh's at the front of something that no region has been able to do before. And this is why we are one of 21 communities or regions across the country that get to do it, and the only one that gets to do it in Pennsylvania. So it's an exciting time to be in Pennsylvania. I'm excited to be here, and I can answer any questions that you have.
And so when you don't know where to send people, send them to us. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. We'll work with
Figure it.
we'll work with them. And
So Ben is our Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer, who is trying to help lead the Build Back Better charge, and you obviously have 2 pieces of that, or at least one significant piece up here that you need to make sure that we're coordinating, and I think that's his charge back there, is to solve that problem.
Yeah, I just have one additional piece, because I didn't hear you mention IU4. Is that
IU4?
IU4 is Butler, Lawrence, I mean, I know that because I'm a teacher and I graduated from IUP, and you all taught me this stuff, so I'm kind of leaning on you a little bit here.
Yeah, so with this NSF grant, those were the 3 IUs that we included in that, but obviously, like I said, we want to go west of
I heard west, that's why I'm asking.
Right, yes, and yeah, Butler County is in there, IU4. We, not with this grant, but, so this is just a snapshot in time of where we're at in terms of, okay, these are the current partners that we had for that grant. But as this continues, like there's a DOL grant, there's another NSF grant that's continuing, as we continue to get more and more partners on and expand our footprint in terms of the interest that's there, those additional partners.
That's going to be critical that you explain that. It's going to be critical that you tell us time, point in time present, point in time future, and some sort of an estimated timeline. Because it's going to be hard for me to explain this to a company that says, well, they're coming. I'd rather say, you're in, but you're not there yet.
So unlike Build Up Back Better, my 2 projects aren't funded. I applied to those grants in March, so that first one is 100K. I applied in March. I won't find out until midsummer to see if that goes. The other one was just under $1 million. I won't find out until the summer if that one lands, all right? And then the ones I applied to this summer, I won't find out till November, December. So with all these pathways and stuff, we're going to start working on those and generating those partnerships so that when we apply for more grants or when it finally kicks off, then we can do it.
So where can I find, how are you going to communicate that to us? Because you're not coming here every month, so how can I?
I can't come every month if you'd like me
You're
to.
invited.
No, but I really will. If you want me here every month, I will be here. But I'll give you my card too.
I appreciate it.
So we have his in process. I know we're running close to time, but then Dr. Adkins, this is already funded, the Makerspace. 3 million, roughly.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Great presentation. Thank you very much. Very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you. Okay.
Chairwoman,
We
can I
already-
interrupt for a second? Chairwoman?
We can do this, correct? In the executive session.
I'm sorry. Just for 1 second.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want,
apologize.
do we have 5 minutes? I wanted to
Thank you for having
introduce
us.
Treva Cromie from DC. She drove up all the way from DC from the Department of
Yes, we have a
Transportation.
couple people we can.
Okay, perfect.
You got it?
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, so I'm Treva Cromie. I'm with the Maritime Administration at the USDOT, Department of Transportation. Prior to this meeting, at the 2 o'clock meeting, there was a presentation on from the Army Corps of Engineers about the Allegheny River and some things. Mr. Valdez, your fearless leader, actually used to be my boss. So we've known each other a very long time. Let's just go with that, right? So again, so one of the things that Vince had talked to me about was some of the challenges that you all are having up here with regards to some of the work that is going on in your area. And we thought it'd be an opportunity just to kind of explain a little bit about what happens in the department world. Everybody knows, I'm hoping you guys know about Build Back Better, but everybody knows about the bipartisan infrastructure law. There was a lot of money that was put towards freight. There was a lot of money that was put towards how to bring back some businesses to areas and build our infrastructure from a more holistic perspective, especially as it relates to supply chain. So within the Maritime Administration, there is actually two very significant grant programs that you may not be aware of. One of them is the Port Infrastructure Development Grant Program, and that grant program is for this year. I hate to say it, but the grants close on April 28th. But that program is about $662 million that goes out to ports. And those ports can be large ports, small ports. It's mostly for infrastructure. It's a very wide brush of program. The program was actually executed in 2019, but everything came back from previous legislations, and that is how ports became eligible for funding within the department. Our funding is done through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, but we also have funding from the National Defense Act, National Defense Authorization Act. So we're an annual appropriations organization, which kind of makes things very difficult when you're trying to plan. I've been in transportation nearly my entire career. I know what I used to actually work at PennDOT. I was actually on the east side. I actually worked for the I coordinated regional planning. So I get the whole thing. I know SPC, I've known SPC. So there's that issue. But one of the other programs we have is our United States Marine Highway Program. And Vince Mantero, there's a lot of Vinces in the rooms today. But Vince Mantero works in my office, and he is the leader of that office that actually runs this program. And we just wanted to take 5 minutes of your time just to give you an overview of how this, 2 minutes of your time, to give you just an overview of what this program is and how it relates back to the Allegheny River, which was discussed earlier today from the Corps of Engineers.
Thanks, Teresa. And thank you for letting us crash this for a couple minutes. So, I'm Vince Mantero. I'm the director of the Office of Ports and Waterways Planning for MARAD. Again, it's a pleasure to be up here, and thank you for letting us sit in. I used to work in Warpsea, just down the street 9 years ago. So it's good to be back in this area again. So, how many of you are aware of the Marine Highway Program through MARAD? Don't answer, I know you will. So that's
one person.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here. So the Marine Highway Program was authorized by Congress back in 2007. And the intent was to increase the utilization of the rivers for cargo and for freight. And one of the criteria was that it allowed the Secretary to designate marine highway routes. And you see the marine highway routes that have been designated so far. It's about 80% of the navigable waterways in the U.S. so far. And you can see they kind of parallel the major interstates. M95 is I-95. You have the M70, which is I-70, kind of roughly close. So what does it mean to be designated as a marine highway route? Well, 2007, Congress enacted it. 2010, they gave the program money. And they gave it discretionary grant funds. And they said, okay, how can we have entities apply for this funding? It had to go through 3 steps. Entity had to be on marine highway routes. Second step, it had to have a project designated on that marine highway route. It's almost like a pre-screening, and only those designated projects could apply for grants. So really narrowed the universe of projects. It was one of those strange discretionary grant programs through DOT. I don't know of another one like it. So it's kind of a pre-screening. So from 2010 to 2022, the program has awarded about $93 million in grants so far. Last year, through the infrastructure bill and through regular yearly appropriations, we had $40 million available 1 year. we had $150 million in applications. So that gives you a little bit of the demand signal, the idea of the demand that we have to improve marine highway transportation. Teresa mentioned the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. That drastically changed our program. One, you know, that middle step where you had to be designated as a project is gone. Anybody on a marine highway can now apply for this grant. So that's huge. You no longer have to be pre-designated. Last year, I think we had 56 projects designated. Only those 56 could apply for grants. Now, anybody on a marine highway can apply for a grant. The second big part was when Congress did, through the Clean Energy Act, they didn't allow the movement of bulk or liquid or bulk cargo. So if you were an operator that was moving liquid or bulk cargo, you weren't eligible for a grant. Obviously, that impacts a lot of our waterways. The NDAA got rid of that. So not only can any project apply for a grant now, if you move bulk and liquid cargo, you can now apply for those grants as well. So this year, Congress, even though we had 40 million last year, this year we have $10 million. And we're trying to encourage more funding for the program. Similar to the PIDP grant that Teresa just spoke about, our NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity, closes at the end of the week. So it's obviously a short timeline. We just want to say this to get the message out, that there's funding availability through the Marine Highway Program. We're here to help. 80% of the waterways have been designated. We were just talking about the Allegheny Monongahela. So we have talking about an application for what we're calling the M79 Marine Highway Corridor. If that does get designated, any project along that Marine Highway Corridor can apply for a Marine Highway grant. The other benefit of being on a marine highway, because of the infrastructure bill, it opens up another avenue of funding. For example, CMAQ funding, because of the infrastructure bill, 10% of that funding is available for marine highways. National Highway Freight Program funding, 30% of it can go to intermodal. That includes marine highways. SDPG funding, that also opens up for marine highways. And again, all those projects through formula funds are now available to marine highways. So hopefully, we're optimistic the M79 will be designated. We'll have to see the application when it comes in. But please keep aware of this program, not only from the discretionary grant point of view, but other funding opportunities through formula funds, through CMAQ, National Highway Freight Program, STVG. It's just opened up a lot. Sorry?
No, I was just going to say all the other grant programs.
Yeah.
So just to be clear.
Yes.
This appears like it's the Ohio only, so the M79 will add the other two rivers, or no?
Yes, the M79 will basically almost bookend the Ohio.
Okay.
Yes.
So
How can you use the funds?
you can use the funds. Unfortunately, our grant program, again, is pretty small. Traditionally, what we funded are things like vessels and equipment. So for example, if an operator needs a tugboat, a barge, any kind of container handling equipment. Last year, since we got such a large amount of funding, it was the first time we were able to fund infrastructure projects. That's why we got $150 million in requests, because they were starting to say, I can do a $7 million project or an $8 million project. So that's why we'd like to see more funding, because last year was the demand signal. Last year is what told us there's a huge demand out there to improve our marine highway system. So.
Yeah, an NPO can sponsor a project.
And an NPO can sponsor a route, can sponsor a project, so NPOs, so state DOTs, so please be active in advocating for funding, please be an advocate for our Marine Highway Program, and again, we're here to help. If you need to work with operators or companies to kind of talk about the value of not just this program, but the Marine Highway system, please let us know, so. Again.
Thank you for being here.
Sure.
What a bonus.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Okay, we'll try to get through the rest of this as quickly as we can. So Andy, will you walk us through the first action, and then Dawn, and then Leanne? Just roll them right through.
That's one more.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I haven't stood at a podium in front of a board meeting in quite some time. So, let's try this out. All right. Next slide, please. So I want to make you all aware of an opportunity through the Environmental Protection Agency, whereas they're allocating funding, about $250 million in funding for planning for climate reduction, so greenhouse gas emission reductions. And before I get into it, I just want to remind everybody of the policies and goals of our long-range plan centered around climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. And I just want to say that these strategies will be carried over into the plan we're going to be asking you all to act on in June. So next slide, please. So with that being said, this program, again, it's called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants. It's funded through the Inflation Reduction Program, and it does provide planning grants to develop broad, flexible, regional climate pollution reduction strategies. Again, $250 million nationwide. Each state can get, these are non-competitive, by the way, and there is no match. So each state gets up to $3 million, and then each of the largest 67 MSAs in the country, the metropolitan statistical areas, get up to $1 million. So we're proposing that for the Pittsburgh MSA, the 7-county Pittsburgh MSA, and also wrapping in Indiana, Greene, and Lawrence counties, who are obviously part of our region but not part of the MSA, to apply for this and lead this grant through the SPC. I will let you know that DVRPC, our sister agency in the Philadelphia region, is leading their charge for that region, and the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission is intending on submitting a notice of intent to participate, but they're the 69th largest MSA in the country. So within the program guidance, it states if one of the largest 67 does not apply for their money, it'll move down the list. So we're not going this alone at the regional level, and then also the state has filed their notice of intent to participate and their work program, which we had just received today. So we're also coordinating with the state DEP on this. And again, these grants are to plan for $4.6 billion that's going to be released through the EPA, through the Inflation Reduction Act. And these are for broad, flexible strategies that can be implemented by a range of eligible entities. So local governments, state DOTs, air quality agencies. There's a whole host of eligible entities that can implement these various strategies developed through the planning program. Our notice of intent to participate is due this Friday. So it's a pretty simple form. We have it worked up already. However, we are asking, and most of you have seen this already, we are asking each of the counties as well as the city of Pittsburgh to provide us letters of support that you will participate in this planning program. So next slide, please. More on that in a little bit. Okay, so there's 3 deliverables for this planning grant. One is a priority climate action plan that's due a little less than a year from now. And these are for near-term implementation-ready greenhouse gas reduction measures. And this is required for the implementation grants. Second is a comprehensive climate action plan that's due in 2025. And and I'll talk a little bit more about these in a couple slides. And these are for near and long-term emission reduction goals and strategies. And then the next 2 years are just reporting, status reports on the planning process. And then we're also able to update the greenhouse gas baseline for the region and things like that. So the bulk of the work of this is going to be within the next 2 years. Thank you. So these are the elements that are required for the priority plan that's due in March. a greenhouse gas inventory for the region and some quantified measures, a benefits analysis for low income and disadvantaged communities, and just to kind of give you all an idea on where we stand as a country on greenhouse gas emissions. In 2021, emissions by sector, transportation accounted for 28%, electric generation 25%, industry 23%, commercial and residential buildings 13%, and agriculture 10%. So as you can see, this program can be used to fund a whole host of projects, anything from electrification of our transit fleets to finding new sources for coal-fired plants to, reducing emissions for industrial uses to green buildings with, windows and things like that for commercial and residential, and insulation levels and a whole host of different types of things. As of now, these they're technology neutral. So they're not, as it's stated by the EPA as of now, they're not favoring one thing over another. And the other part of this is we don't, the notice of funding opportunity isn't out for these yet and will not be out until we're into the planning process. So we have to be, proactive in our planning and make sure that we're targeting these high generators of greenhouse gases and other things, and making sure that everybody's priorities are upfront and on the table, so we can include in the plan what the region wants. Because we all know that everybody in this room and online, your municipalities, your counties, everybody has different priorities for what they want to see to reduce greenhouse gases. So,
hey Andy, how much is this for? Like, what's the maximum?
For the planning grant, we will be receiving $1 million.
So I mean, it's already designated.
It's non-competitive. Okay. If we apply,
we got
it's ours.
Yeah. I was gonna say it'd be pretty easy. Tell them we're shutting down both our coal-fired power plants. We should be a no-brainer.
Yeah. So I mean, but again, you have to develop this plan through this program to get access to the $4.6 billion.
Yeah.
In implementation money.
With that transition.
Could mean repurposing.
Yeah. It very well could. That's a great point.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So these are the required elements for the longer term 2-year plan. Again, you'll see many of the same things that add, but also a workforce analysis. And then also there's a part in there where we have to do an analysis on how we can leverage other federal funds within the program to complement the EPA funds. So this can come through our CMAQ funding that comes through SPC, our carbon reduction program, which is a new IIJA funding stream that comes through SPC, and anything else that comes, through the federal government. And again, this is due summer of 2025. And then this slide just outlines the reporting, the status reporting that are due the next 2 years. Next slide, please. So our application deadline, again, the state has already filed their notice of intent and also their work program, which I just received the work program as I was sitting here today. Our deadline for the notice of intent to participate is this Friday. And again, we would like support letters from every county within the region. We've received 6, including the city of Pittsburgh, so we have 5 more that we need. Just been talking to folks in here today. We have 2 more coming this week. So I can get with the other folks that aren't in the room today that we haven't heard from and make sure that we get those by the end of the week. And we're actively working now on our work program. We hope to have a draft out to all of the county and city partners by May 1st. We have 2 weeks built in for feedback and comments. We'll send out another iteration after that, and then we'll have it ready by the May 31st deadline. And we're also working with the state DEP on that. So again, all of the planning directors will receive the updates of the work program as we proceed. And we're looking at a project kickoff sometime in the fall. We will be doing a consultant procurement process to help us with this. Next slide, just 2 more here. Again, the regional approach, all of the counties with the city of Pittsburgh, and as well as the Department of Environmental Protection and the Allegheny Health Department. Again, issuing an RFP for consultant services in late summer. And the way we're planning on structuring the committees to inform this process is modeled after our connectivity improvement program. So we're going to have a pretty tight steering committee of the government partners, the SPC members, the health department, the PADEP, and then we're going to have a regional advisory committee of probably 40 to 50 members of nonprofits, advocacy groups, universities, energy utility companies, transportation agencies, housing agencies, the labor unions, and any other partners as identified by the steering committee. And again, public involvement is going to be really key to this as well. We're planning on a pretty sizable portion of the budget of this to do public and stakeholder engagement for the process. And again, I can't say this enough, we want all of our members to participate in this to ensure that we have a comprehensive process and we hear everybody's needs and hear everybody's perspective from each of the counties. And then finally, before we ask for action, one more. There you go. Letter of intent, support that was due on Friday. We are, again, still missing a few. Distributing the draft by May 1st and then feedback by the 8th. Second round of reviews sent out by May 15th with feedback due on the 22nd. And we'll be submitting our full application on May 31st.
All right, thank you. So you're now then looking for, go
Can
ahead.
you guys hear me? Aurora Sherrard, City of Pittsburgh. As Andy knows, I've been asking SPC to take the steps I'm leading for a climate action plan for the region for over a decade. So I'm very excited to see us taking this step. I think it's imperative that we do so as a region and reflect everybody's goals. SPC is absolutely the right organization to lead on this and bring us all forward. So thank you, Andy, for helping us go through those steps and for making sure that the region is positioned to access the many funds that are coming down from the federal government that support climate action in the future.
Thanks, Aurora. Hey, Bob, did you have your hand raised as well?
No, I had it raised before on the river transportation issue, and I was just curious on any outcome on the lock program that's going on in the Monongahela River. But it's already passed.
Oh, that's okay. Well, you know what? We'll shoot you an email and make sure we touch base with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, with that, then I believe we need to take action on resolution number 0123 that would authorize this application, correct?
I'll make a motion. Can I move?
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Take your pick. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, is there any opposition? Okay, hearing none. That stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, live in person at the podium.
Okay, exciting stuff here. I'm here to talk to you today about federal performance measures for pavement and bridge conditions and also travel time reliability. So it's that time again where the state has sent us a letter asking us to support statewide targets for those three things. Next slide. For pavements, these measures are applied to the interstate system and national highway system. For bridges, the measures are applied to the total national highway system. Bridge and pavement conditions are rated as good, fair, and poor, three condition thresholds. Performance measures and targets are required for good and poor only. Federal standards include only the total bridges on the national highway system, expressways and interstates for the most part, which covers the biggest bridges carrying most of the vehicular traffic. So bridges and pavements are called, those are the PM Performance Measure 2 targets. They were first established by PennDOT back in 2018 and adopted by SPC. PennDOT has submitted a full-term performance report for the period 2018 to 2021. All performance targets were met. PennDOT has recently submitted new targets for the next performance period, which is 2022 to 2025. Next slide. This slide covers interstate pavement condition. Top part of the slide shows the percent in good condition, statewide and regional numbers. As you can see, in the last 5 years, there's been an increase in good interstate pavement statewide and regionally. Similarly, the bottom part of the slide shows the percent in poor condition. In the last 5 years, the percent in poor condition has been pretty stable statewide and regionally, both under 1%. As a guideline, the federal highway threshold is they want us to stay under 5%, so we are good there. The statistical statewide targets for 23 and 25 are conservatively projecting a stabilization in good pavement condition and a slight increase in poor pavement condition based on current funding levels and anticipated deterioration. Next slide, please. This slide covers non-interstate national highway system pavement condition. Again, the top part of the slide shows the percent in good condition, the statewide numbers and SPC region numbers. And as you can see, in the last 5 years, the good interstate pavement condition, the good, non-interstate pavement condition has been fairly stable statewide and on a slight decline regionally. Similarly, the bottom part of the slide shows the percent in poor condition. In the last 5 years, the percent in poor condition has been on the rise statewide and regionally. Even with the influx of IIJA funding, which is really not reflected here, the statistical statewide targets for 23 and 25 are conservatively projecting a slight decline in good pavement condition and a slight increase in poor pavement condition for non-interstate or non-interstate based on funding levels and anticipated deterioration. Next slide. Bridge condition. This slide covers bridge condition on the national highway system. The measure is bridge deck area. Keep that in mind because, you know, if you have larger bridges with larger deck areas and small bridges, you may say you have two bridges, small one, a big one. Well, if the big one has the larger deck area, so that's going to skew things. So the top part of the slide shows the percent in good condition, the statewide numbers and SPC region numbers. And as you can see, in the last 5 years, the percent of bridge deck area in good condition has been fairly stable. Similarly, the bottom part of the slide shows the percent of bridge deck area in poor condition. In the last 5 years, the percent in poor condition has been on a slight decline, which is good news statewide and regionally. As a guideline, the federal highway threshold is under 10% poor, so we are good there. And the statistical statewide targets for 23 and 25 are conservatively projecting a stabilization in good condition and a slight increase in poor deck area condition based on funding levels and anticipated deterioration. Next slide. So in summary, with regard to pavement conditions on the national highway system, we have good overall performance statewide and regionally. SPC region conditions are slightly better than statewide. The percent poor statewide and regionally is under 1%, well under the federal threshold of 5%. With regard to bridges, bridge deck area conditions, we have good overall performance statewide and regionally. Again, SPC region numbers slightly better than statewide. The percent poor statewide and regionally is under 5%, well under the federal threshold of 10%. Next slide. So we're asking today, we're requesting action on Resolution 223 to adopt the statewide targets for pavement and bridge. We'll do these one at a time, and I'll do travel time reliability next. At their April meeting, SBC's Transportation Technical Committee recommended that the Commission adopt the state PM2 bridge and pavement performance measure targets established by PennDOT for National Highway System highways and bridges in Pennsylvania. Our technical committee is recommending support of the statewide targets by continuing to plan and program projects in the region that contribute to meeting or making significant progress toward established targets. Pat, I'll take any questions.
There are no questions. Do we have a motion?
We got one question.
Sorry. I didn't
Motion
see
to
him.
approve.
Wait,
Well, can I ask my question first?
wait, he's got, well, we can take the motion in a second, then you can ask the
Okay.
question. That'll be fine.
That's fine.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Many years ago, when I started on this committee, the bridges were really bad. Oh, in our SBC region. There was numbers that broke down. Does this report break those numbers down individually in regards to the way bridges and the conditions are?
The detailed PennDOT report does, and we can
Okay.
eventually provide you a link with that.
Okay.
But I'd say, like, and Andy, you can correct me, I mean, over the last 10 years, we've cut the number of poor bridges almost in half.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the priorities that, I'm talking 16 years ago.
Yeah,
That
and
was
I'm
one of the
talking
priorities.
overall bridge condition. This target is deck area. We're talking
Overall
deck,
bridges.
substructure,
Yeah.
superstructure.
Yeah.
We've cut the overall bridge
I was just
condition.
curious of how far, I know it's come down quite a
Number of
bit. I was
bridges.
just curious if there was, I can get into that report and access that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
To give you a little bit of perspective for District 10, in 2008, when you're talking, when we started the Rapid Bridge Program, in District 10, we were around 30% SD deck area. The terminology changed a little bit. Right now, I think we're hovering around 6-7%.
Okay.
So, and I just looked at the numbers the other day, so I don't recall them off the top of my head.
No, that's fine.
And it's too small
I
to
was
get them.
just curious. I was just curious.
Yeah,
if I
no,
could
we've
see-
made
Because that was
significant
something that I thought was very important that we take care of, and
Well,
I just wanted to.
Yeah, I think we've made significant
Yes.
progress on our bridges overall. I think that, I think moving forward, we may want to pay a little more attention to locally owned bridges and whether locals want to federalize those projects. Because the number of local bridges in poor condition is higher.
Yep, yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything further? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank
Move
you.
on to 323.
Okay, we will talk now about travel time reliability. And so, next slide. Yeah, there you go. There are a total of 6 system performance measures from FHWA. Today, we previously presented 3 of them. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 you see in red here. Percent of person miles traveled on the interstate that are reliable, percent of person miles traveled on the non-interstate that are reliable, and interstate system truck travel time reliability. All right, that's a mouthful. So again, we have the latest 2-year and 4-year targets established by PennDOT in December 2022. The reliability measures are only reported to FHWA at a statewide level. What's reliability? Okay, well, it's the amount of time it takes to get from point A to point B, and if it's reliable, it's always the same. Because the more fluctuation there is in your travel time, the less reliable your corridor is. So I don't want to get into how that's all calculated. It has to do with 80th percentile travel time and 50th percentile travel time. I won't get into that. And then the other measure is Interstate System Truck Travel Time Reliability Index. What you need to know there is the lower the index, the better the freight travel reliability we have. Next slide. So, the process is established in federal rules, state DOTs, MPOs to cooperatively calculate baseline performance, set performance targets, monitor and measure progress toward those targets, etc. We can agree to support the targets, and this was relevant to the prior measures I talked about, or we can establish our own. Next slide. So in the next few slides, I'm benchmarking our region with the statewide numbers and with other nearby regions using the 2021 data. Now keep in mind, the 2021 data, we're coming out of COVID. Okay, less traffic, still less traffic on the road. The higher the travel time reliability, the better and more, and you're closer to 100%, the better and more consistent the system is. SPC region's interstate reliability is higher when compared to the statewide number and to most other comparable regions. Next slide. SPC's non-interstate reliability is higher than the statewide number and is fairly consistent with numbers we find in nearby comparable regions. It should also be noted that many of the region's non-interstate NHS routes also act as main streets and activity centers for the region's communities. While we want to ensure the network is reliable, we do not want to increase vehicular speeds excessively or limit mobility options in order to achieve this reliability. Next slide. Again, the lower the truck reliability index, the better and more consistent the system is for freight. SPC region's truck reliability index is slightly higher than the statewide number, but compares favorably to most other nearby regions. Next slide. And this chart shows the interstate and non-interstate reliability solely for the SPC region over the past 6 years. As you can see, the interstate reliability has been fairly stable from 2017 to 2019, hovering around 91 to 92%. As expected, the 2020 data with less vehicles on the road due to the pandemic and freer flow of traffic shows a significant rise in reliability. The data is similar for non-interstate roadways, the chart on the right. From 17 to 19, the reliability is fairly stable at around 87 to 88%, with a significant rise for 2020. Next slide. Only a couple more. This chart shows the truck reliability index for the SPC region for the past 6 years. With this measure, again, the lower the index, the more reliable truck travel. Similar to the previous charts, we see a stable truck reliability index between 17 and 19, hovering around 1.4 to 1.5. Again, starting with 2020, we see a better lower index number, probably reflective of lower volumes and freer flow with more consistent travel times for freight. Next slide. So here are the targets that PennDOT has set statewide. PennDOT is basically utilizing the same 2021 targets for the 2023 and 2025 targets, and the rationale for that is statistical trends from 17 to 21, future anticipated increases in freight activity and road construction, and traffic levels and performance will likely move closer to pre-pandemic levels in the near future. Next slide. So today we're going to ask you to look at Resolution 323 in your packet, and at the April meeting, SPC's Transportation Technical Committee recommended that the Commission adopt the state PM3 reliability targets established by PennDOT, and we have Resolution 323 before you. Any questions on that?
I don't see any questions. With that, we'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 323.
So moved. Larry Shiflett.
Thank you. Larry? Okay, we have a second back here. Anything further? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now National Bike Month, Leanne. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, there she is.
Action on National Bike Month Resolution 423, proclaiming May as National Bike Month in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Or do you want to, that's it?
Motion to
Is she going to,
approve.
okay.
Bob Macy.
Second.
Okay, sounds like we got a motion and a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I'm waiting for all the positive ayes. I'm assuming you're all positive because we love bikes, right? Okay. All right. All right, the motion carried. And it is National Bike Month. Yay. That's fabulous. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll try to work through the rest so we can get everyone up here. Jen, Build Back Better, we had quite a bit of discussion, so
yes.
go for it.
I'll make
This
this
is
very-
so hard, I don't know which way to turn.
Yeah.
I'm having a split personality issue here.
And I'm going to keep this very brief because, again, we've had a very robust. I'm always going to do just a very intro reminder. There are 5 projects under Build Back Better. The first one is Catalyst, who's running the small to medium enterprise robotics adoption. Project 2, which is a robotics manufacturing hub through ARM. We are Project 3 with Expanded Pathways to New Economy Careers, which is your workforce project. And then Project 4 is Applied Robotics Startup Factory Innovation Works. And then 5 is Expanded Pathways to Entrepreneurship. Again, the whole point of the grant, regional job creation, training, equity, entrepreneurship, business support, and robotics cluster growth. Next. I'm really only 3 slides, guys, I promise, I'll be quick. Next. Maybe. All right, goals and objectives. So especially under Project 3, expand training and placement opportunities, so that's certificate, apprenticeships, advanced degrees, build a vibrant and robust robotics ecosystem, so conduct outreach, build partnerships. The goal is rooted businesses. We want to bring businesses here and keep them here. We want to make sure that there's clear pathways and wraparound services for students and workers. So bottom line is, how do you get somebody into robotics? How do you keep them in the robotics? It's finding out what the needs are, making sure, again, is it access to transportation? Is it access to scholarships? One of the things that came out of our strategic planning session is, for example, Robert Morris has multiple scholarships that go unused. So the question is why? So is the money's not the issue. So is it how long does it take to get there? Do you have reliable broadband if you wanted to connect online? There's a lot of things that we need to understand, and we're working through that. So ultimately, we want to be responsive to the needs of businesses. So again, as everybody's doing surveys, it sounds like, so we're going to try to coordinate some efforts here, establish what those training needs are, what the talent strategies are going to be, and ultimately deliver. And then those regional training hubs. Serve businesses, serve workers, train and retain. Next. So specific to 3. So we held a kickoff meeting on February 24th. Great meeting. Most of our partners were there. We did this in person because we just wanted to talk. What's going on? We have everybody's scope of work. What are you going to be doing and how are you going to get there, more importantly? There's over 10,000 people that need to be trained under this grant. That's a lot of people. So yeah, so knowing that, how are we going to do it? So we put together a grant administration plan, which was approved by EDA. We have bi-monthly meetings scheduled to keep the project running. And then in addition to that, we have individual smaller project committees. But this is kind of a very busy week, as grant reports are due to me by our partners by tomorrow. And then my reports are due to EDA by Monday. And then, as I had mentioned, smaller project committees are being formed. So one for workforce, one for training. So something to think about here is when we talk about wraparound services, that was something EDA was really interested in. So if I'm somebody who lives in Butler County, if I'm somebody who lives in Greene County, what are the services that exist? Who do I talk to? As we learned, there are so many moving parts here. We need one point of contact. We need one place. So a website is being built. So a very robust, frequently asked questions. So if I just bottom line want to start getting training, there is one place I can click, one person I can talk to, and we can kind of move forward. Because what we see is we have multiple moving parts and we need to get them all moving in the same way. So again, curriculum development over summer, and then a lot of our projects have a fall semester start, because again, we are aligned with the universities as well as the different training entities. And then CMU's Block Center for Tech, their RFP for the hubs are going out in June. So this is just the last 30 days, 45 days. So this is a very robust grant. I'll have more of an update for the board next week. But again, we have a meeting on Thursday with all 18 partners talking about where we're at, what we're doing, how we're going. Invoices are coming in. But bottom line, it's a busy grant and we have a lot of people to train and we're working towards that. Next slide. So you'd already met Benjamin.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to blow the
Let me
whole
tell you why it worked out.
introduction.
Ben had to go pick up his daughter, so he had to leave early, so you were right on time. So, so you could not have picked a better opportunity. So I have some of Ben's business cards, but what Ben is going to be doing as the Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer, RECO, as they so delightfully call him, he's going to be the connective tissue between all 5 projects, because again, as you saw today, I'm interested in project 1, who do I talk to? So we all know that's Catalyst, but we know that in this room, but not anybody else does. Right. So he's gonna be the person that anything that has to do with Build Back Better, that's gonna be your starting point person, and he's working with all of us. So I meet with Ben every 2 weeks at this point. He meets with all of the projects. And then one of the other things that we're doing, especially Project 3, because we do have the greatest reach into everything, is I have all of the project leads coming to the project meeting on Thursday, because they need to talk about what they're doing. They need to see how this whole thing comes together. In this room, I just want to thank everybody for their patience. This is not an easy undertaking. As EDA has so kindly reminded me, this is the largest non-construction grant in the United States, Project 3, and SPC is in charge of that. So myself, my partner in compliance here, Margaret Bonner, is absolutely, we're working through it. And just let us know your questions as you have them, but I will get Ben's contact information out to everybody, but he's your point of contact for all things Build Back Better. If it's specific to workforce, feel free to cut through and call myself, but that's the person to talk to. What questions, hopefully none, do you have on Hint. I think we know each other.
Keep it to yourself.
Please, I was just kidding. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them to the best of my ability. Any questions on Build Back Better? Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you, Jen. That's great. Caitlin.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I will make this short as well. Myself and my colleague over here, DJ Ryan, we've been working on the Port of Pittsburgh nominations. So SPC actually gets to submit 5 nominations to the governor's office, and Governor Shapiro will appoint 3. So we turned that in on Friday, and we should have more of an update for you guys come June. The way it works, it's Act 161 of 2022 that allows us to do the nominations. There's not, it doesn't go through the assembly, so the governor's office will vet everyone. They'll reach out to the folks that we nominated, and that's why I said hopefully by our next meeting in June, we'll have an update for you. But we try to be, CJ, feel free to chime in. We try to be strategic about whose district, who represents which portions of the rivers. We want to make sure that people that we nominated were really invested, and that they're aware of the issues that are facing the port, and things like that. So we'll have a better update for you come June. But thank you to everyone that we turned to for help and consultation. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of phone calls the last 3 weeks back and forth when we got this. So we really appreciate everyone's guidance. Thank you.
All right then, Vincent.
Well, thank you. And
Our status, yes.
Thank you very much. And as much as we're grateful to Commissioner Fabian and we love coming out to the counties, we're really looking forward to having our home again. And so I just wanted to update everybody as to where we were with the build out of our new facilities at the auction house. Things are moving really well. They're moving wonderfully fast. Margaret and I and Kirk meet with the contractors once a week to keep our tabs on how the progress is going. At this point, paint has been applied to the walls. They're redoing the floors as we speak. The electrical systems are going in. So we're really making great progress. Our initial schedule had been to move into these new facilities in late May. However, at the last meeting, we heard that there is a slip of a couple of weeks. There's still a supply chain issue. Some of the electrical panels that we need to, in order to get a certificate of occupancy, for this place haven't come in. Some of the lights that we're having made that are specific to this space haven't come in and won't be coming in by the end of May because of those supply chain issues. But we're pretty confident that mid-June is when we can consider actually having ourselves move in here. In fact, the basement is already complete and some of our equipment has already been moved in, so we're storing stuff there already in the basement. Again, it's going to be a completely different facility. It's going to be very kind of collaborative. I think all of you are going to enjoy it. We're looking to put together an open house, a real party, a kickoff party for midsummer sometime so that we can bring everyone in and celebrate moving into our new facilities, which we're very excited to do. Our next meeting is going to be June 26th, and we're thinking that that's going to be in Fayette County with Vince Faciti's support. But after that, we're sure we'll be able to hold our meetings here.
And I think the theme should be dancing in the streets.
I think so too. I like the idea. Yeah, I like that. And we will be.
Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you. Is there anything else that anybody has that they'd like to bring? I want to take a moment here because she's here live and in person also to introduce Amber Davis, who is our new board member representing Butler County. And Amber actually was engaged with our transportation prior to now, but would you give a little bit, just a quick background on?
Sure, yeah, I worked in, so I'm Amber Davis. I'm a senior consultant for Medicaid and Health and Human Services now, but historically I've worked in transportation and health and human services, specifically starting A&R Transport. So we were able to expand that across most of PA. We had 7 additional bases, and a huge project that was close to my heart was coordinating transportation for people with intellectual disabilities, trying to streamline that transportation to get people to be able to accept jobs that they wouldn't otherwise be able to have. I also oversaw the Senior Shared Ride Program, working closely with PennDOT, PWD services, working ADA transportation, really anything transportation I was involved in somehow. So I've worked with Rhonda for a long time. Kathy, I'm not sure if Kathy's still with SPC. I've been away for about a year from this, but I'm very grateful to be here, and this is all wonderful stuff. So anything I can help support or any input I can give, I'm here.
She worked with us a lot on the concept of microtransit in the Cranberry area, and as we move towards, transit hub type discussions, I think she will be very helpful in that because there was a lot of research that was done. So, person, anybody else we should welcome that's new. Okay. All right. Not like wait until the end. Huh?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. With that, then I guess we have a motion to adjourn. Next meeting, June 26th.
So moved.
Where? In the street, right?
It's going to be in
Vince's.
Good. All right. Okay. In Fayette. All right. Good. Okay. All right. So moved. Is there a second? We're adjourned. I think Pat made the motion.
I did.
To adjourn.
All right.
Kevin. Okay. Mark just seconded. Okay. Thank you.